Hey guys, so diving into day 2 of 2025 USPSA Factory Gun Nationals. If you haven't watched my day 1, go ahead and click on that and watch that. Using all the same equipment, so I'm not going to go through that. Shooting my M&P, my Howitzer belt, all that good stuff. Didn't have any serious equipment malfunctions. I did have a malfunction, but I'll talk about that when we get to it. But day 2, feeling pretty good. My day 1 went pretty baller, pretty stellar, and I was feeling really good about my performance and kind of how uncomfortable I was pushing. Wasn't pushing that hard, but I was definitely like staying aggressive on everything. I think that's an interesting topic, an interesting video. It might make an interesting video for me to talk about how you define pushing and how you define being aggressive, because a lot of people in the competitive shooting space or the performance shooting space would say that like pushing at a match is not a good idea, and I completely disagree. I think there are absolutely places to push, and there are absolutely a majority of the time you should be uncomfortable. You should not just be like comfortably coasting, but that's a topic for another video. Let's just dive right into my day two stages. I was overall feeling really good, and day 2 actually went pretty well for me, minus the final stage. So let's dive right into it.
Are you ready? Stand by.
All right. Man, that Howitzer squad was just stellar. Man, such good times. Okay, so we started on stage 7 in zone 1 for our day 2. And like I said, going into day 2, I was feeling pretty good and crushed it on the first stage. So I had a 97.7% run on this, which is a 4th place finish on this stage. Shot in 14.48 with only 4 Charlie. So yeah, I mean, this stage was really straightforward. There was really no other way to run this. There was maybe a little bit of debate on whether or not you should take the open, the steel, and this double stack here, but it really made no sense when at the very end you could take it and you're like way closer to it. You have to get to that position anyway. So this was a one stage plan stage. The guy that wins the stage is not going to win it because of a better stage plan. It just comes down to hardcore shooting, which I like sometimes. I like sometimes when there's not a bunch of different stage plans, because then it truly is just the test of shooting skill. Majority of the time I don't like that, but sometimes it's kind of fun. But right off the bat, had if I look at the time chart, it was a 1.04 draw for shot on this.
Are you ready? Stand by.
Which was decent. I would love to see it in like 0.8. That would have been, cooler, quarter second faster. But, 1.04 second draw to first shot with a 19 split, and that was 2 alpha. I was really confident about it. And first shots of day 2 at Nationals, I'm not trying to be a hero. So that I'm just fine with that. How do you like Jonathan from Howitzer? Just totally, look at this guy, just balling. Doing whatever it takes to get the shot. I love it. I'll actually put the picture that he took like right here. Right? Let's see, where is it? It's like right here. I'll put up the picture here of what that picture was. But anyways, coming into position here, this little corner was pretty hard. It was a really hard corner, so having cleats really helped, and it was really important to me that you nail this position, not have to move your feet or like have to lean too much. You enter in on this open target, and then you get to this guy, this partial, and it's only like, 12 yard partial, but I wanted to make sure that I was really stable and I wasn't having to lean, so I nailed this position perfectly, which I was very happy about. Now, the funny thing about this is there's hardcover steel behind it, and it's honestly just a backstop, so I don't even know if it's considered hardcover steel, but it's a steel plate behind the target just to be able to catch the bullets, because they didn't want to send bullets into the railroad tie walls, because those are not berms. They didn't want to ruin those. So it's a very weird thing, because you have the auditory part of it telling you success because you're hearing ding, ding, but you cannot rely on that because you can absolutely just miss the target because you're shooting cardboard, and just because you hear ding, you can still miss the cardboard and hit the steel. So you have to rely very much so on your visual cues and shot calling. So kind of fun. I've definitely mic'd targets with this target setup before because you hear it, ding, ding, you're like, oh, good to go. And it's definitely not like that. So really came in hard in this position, had my gun up pretty good. My gun was up perfectly, I would say. Shot nice and early. Went 1 for 1 on steel there, which was pretty important to me, like watching some of the other guys run it. Makeups on steel, even if it's only 0.3 seconds, 0.4 seconds, it adds up really quickly on this stage. So I wanted to make sure I went 1 for 1 on steel. And I don't know why I had a little hiccup there. I don't know if my foot slipped, my right foot. Yeah, it slipped a little bit, which made my gun like go crazy because I came in really hot. But then shot this last array pretty aggressive. Here's another interesting topic that I think would make a good video is being able to make a decision in real time when you're shooting. I've heard people say, pretty popular people say that like you should just 100% go autopilot because we're big dumb animals. You should just go autopilot. Because you can't process anything when you're shooting a stage. I 100% disagree with that. Personally, I think that if you do not have the mental bandwidth to be able to process certain things while you're shooting a stage, I don't think the shooting is quite as subconscious as it should be. Because for me personally, like this was a perfect example of, hey, this is day 1. This is my cold start for the day at Nationals, the biggest match of the year, most important match of the year. And I did not have a pre-decided pace on how aggressive or hard I was going to shoot this. I had a general idea, like, okay, I'm going to go 1 for 1 on steel. I'm going to try and push the aggression on the, the open targets, but the partials, like there's plenty of opportunity to throw no-shoots. And I saw really, really high-level shooters throw no-shoots on this stage. So right off the bat, ripping a 104 draw with a 19 split 2 alpha, coming in here, just watching myself hammer alphas. By the time I got to the 3rd position and I went 1 for 1 on steel, it was at this point I was like, I know I can push a little bit. Like my grip is feeling so dialed, I know that I can push the split speed on the partials and the transition speed, and I did. And it worked out really good. Like that's relatively aggressive, and the only reason that I did that is because, like I said, coming into 2nd and 3rd position, my grip was feeling so dialed and my vision was there. My dot was returning exactly where I wanted it to be, and so I did it. And so I think that's a perfect example of making it a goal to be able to make those kinds of decisions in real time while you're shooting, because another thing I hear people say is, don't ever be aggressive on stages. Like, you need to just focus on what you can execute. And I also don't totally agree with that either. Like for me personally, like when I'm running a stage, even a cold start stage like this, I'm always at that bleeding edge of like being uncomfortable. I don't ever want to be comfortable. I want to be on that bleeding edge of like discomfort. Like I'm not quite going till the wheels falling off, right? I'm not at that 100%, but I'm definitely not at like 85% or maybe even 90%. I may be at that like 95, and those are arbitrary numbers. I'm just pulling out of thin air, but I don't know. I think there's a medium there where it's like, hey, you don't want to just be comfortably coasting through stage. You have to be a little bit uncomfortable in order to kind of execute that. So anyways, just one guy's opinion. Take it for what it's worth.
Stand by.
All right, so this was stage 1, and shot this one pretty good as well. I had a 4th place finish on this, 92%, behind Bridger Havens. I hate to say it. I'm not even totally sure who that is, but he crushed the stage. So yeah, ran this in 12.63 seconds with 5 Charlie. And I had a little bit of a different stage plan than most guys, even my squad, and even in Super Squad, I didn't see most guys do it this way, but it's kind of the way I planned it. So right off the bat, there was some debate on whether or not you should take this open target right off the draw. I took this one, let's see, when was my draw to first shot on this? If you go to the time chart, my draw to first shot was a 1.11 with a 19 split. So 1.1 with a step to an open target. I'm pretty happy with that, and I wanted to just get that out of the way so that I could take the partial on the move. So that was 2 alpha there, and then same thing here at this stage. I wanted to go 1 for 1 on steel, but the most difficult array was with the swinger array. So makeup there, not great, but is what it is. I know I made up an alpha, made up a Charlie with an alpha. And then I took this partial right off the bat, and I wanted to take big steps and cover a lot of ground, but shoot very slowly. And that's what I did to make sure that I don't drop a no-shoot or anything like that. So like that split was very slow. That was probably like a 0.5 or 0.6 second split. But I was gaining a lot of ground. Most guys elected not to take that partial until about where I was standing here. And I didn't want to do that because I wanted to be able to take this open target right away and set myself up perfectly with the way I did for this middle array here. And this was the most difficult array. So big popper at like 15, 18 yards maybe. Nice far open paper, and then a swinger right there. And I took the swinger on one pass on its way down and on its way up. And I had 2 Charlie on that swinger, so I definitely didn't shoot it clean. It was on opposite ends of it, but I knew I saw my dot on brown, and so I knew it was there. And with this being a lower hit factor stage, 5.9 is 6 hit factor stage, like I'm okay to take, you know, a hit on brown, Charlie Delta, maybe even if it was going to save me a second. So ended up working good there, and I only had to take a little shuffle step for the paper and the steel. So this stage ended up going pretty good. Like I said, had a 4th place finish. Same thing as a 4th place finish on my first stage, stage 7, 92% run. Very good start to day 2. I was feeling pretty good.
Stand by.
All right, so this was stage 2. Had an 84% run on this, 28th place run on this, so nothing too crazy. I had a different stage plan than most guys. I elected to just take the 2 steel, paper, double stack paper, 2 steel, and then paper on the outside edge. Because I just wanted to have as the least amount of targets to shoot in the side positions, because it was like I'm going into movement. I wanted to just have the least amount of targets so I could maybe kind of flow through that movement. Looking back, it's like, you're not really flowing through the movement because these are far targets, but I don't think that was necessary. I think it was kind of a wash, right? Maybe it was a yard closer, right, to the target, but I don't think it really mattered. So I only shot 1 Charlie on this stage because I knew going into it was a low hit factor stage. You know, I shot 98% of the points. But I was a little slow. I was like 3 seconds behind Christian, 3.5 seconds behind Christian. So I shot every target at pretty much like 0.5 second splits, which is slow. But that first makeup on steel was also a 0.54, so that doesn't help. But because it's a low hit factor stage, half a second definitely does not change much. Like that would bump me up maybe like 2% on this stage. Like it really doesn't change that much. But 3.5 seconds changes a lot. And Christian, I mean, he had 2 more Charlie than I did, but I mean, 3.5 seconds is a huge gap. But historically, my weakness in shooting has been accuracy, and the fact that I knew that I had to shoot this clean. I attempted to shoot it 100% clean, just because I knew that I would throw a Charlie or 2 trying to shoot it clean. But knowing that I can shoot it that clean at these far targets, I was pretty happy with. And my movement in between positions also was good. It was really aggressive. I landed pretty soft. I didn't shoot until my sight was, you know, stable. I shot these these side targets a little slow. Probably could have shot those a little faster, but overall, pretty solid stage.
Stand by.
All right, so now we get to the stand and deliver stages, which I was not like super excited about. because the stand and deliver stage on day 1 in zone 3 that I shot, I did not do well on. So I was like, okay, well, you know, buckle up. Let's see what happens. You know, shot a Charlie on this, but I was slow. I was like a second behind the top guy. So it was a 75% run on this stage, which is not great. I had to make up on steel, had to make up on paper. And it just overall, the sequence wasn't great. And the Charlie was on the bobber because I shot it, you know, like late on its way down. So overall, not the end of the world. I know there can be points to lose and gain here, but I was like, you know what? I'm gonna run with it. Is what it is. But this next stage is where it gets really rough.
Stand by.
Ooh, that is rough. That's hard. That's hard to watch. So this is stage 4, 58% run. So that's impressive. Not in a good way. Still only 1 Charlie, but I mean, I was 10.3 seconds, which was it was like 4 seconds off the stage winner, which was Jay Beal. And I just so happened to talk to Jay about the stage before he shot it when we were watching them. Jay was in the Super Squad. Jay Beal, go ahead and follow him if you don't already, because he's one of the top shooters in the country. However, I was talking to Jay and I was like, all right, what's the move on this stage, right? Because you had the option to take the steel freestyle, reload, and then take the paper strong end only. Or you could do the paper strong end only, reload. Or you could take the paper freestyle, reload, steel strong end only. And he was like, well, the fastest way to do this is to do paper freestyle, reload, strong end only on steel. However, the only way it's the fastest way is if you go 1-for-1 on steel, or almost 1-for-1, maybe 1 makeup. And he was right, because he ran it. I can't remember exactly if he had 1-for-1 on steel. I would assume he did. I could probably dive into his time chart and see. You know what? I'm actually going to do that. So this is stage 4. Let's go into Jay's time chart here. On stage 4, time chart, he had the reload. Yep, he went 1-for-1 on steel. So our pace together for the first string was literally the exact same. Yeah, we were very, very close together for the first string. 281. He was at a 287. So I was 0.06 of a second faster than him, and our reloads were also almost identical, 1/10 of a second off. So between the reload and the first like array, we were only a 1/16 of a second off. And if I went 1-for-1 on steel, I would have only been a 1/4 second off of him if I went 1-for-1 on steel, because our splits were about the same. They were very similar, but he went 1-for-1 on steel, and I had just like 30 makeups. So interesting results when you look at that. When you look at like the time charts, guys, for a practice score competitor here, it is so valuable, and it is so interesting to look at this, stuff, because, you know, looking at this, it's like I was on pace, right? My 4th shot that I broke, if I went 1-for-1, would have been a 628. And he was a 605s. And if I had a 628 with only 1 Charlie, I literally probably would have been like 2nd place on this stage. Maybe 3rd place. I don't even know. But it would have been top 5 for sure. So, interesting results for sure. At the end of the day, like, I bombed this stage and got to move past it. All right, now for some good news. So I had a stage win on this one. Coming off of those 2 stages that I kind of bombed, I was not feeling super great, and I was like, you know what? I'm just going to push just a little tiny bit. Not much. I'm not going to push outside my comfort or outside of like my realm of ability like I did on day 3. But I definitely pushed like a little bit. Just put put the gas on just a little tiny bit, and it definitely paid off. I had a stage win on this by 9%, which is pretty wild for a stage at nationals. That's pretty crazy, and I'm very humbled to have done that, which is pretty cool. And the only reason, like literally the only reason, like I shot the stage pretty well, but I can tell you right now, the only reason is because I took the swinger on one pass. That is straight up why I did so well, because I had, so 9%, the next guy was Alex Wendell, who was a super good shooter. I had him by 1.5 seconds. Brantley, I had him by like 0.7. John Vlieger, I had him by 0.7. Sean, I had by 1.3. So all these top shooters in the country, I had over almost a second on, and it's only because of the swinger. It's not because I did anything else like that amazing. It was just the swinger, and there might have been a little tiny bit of luck involved, if I'm being totally honest. I saw my dot on Brown. However, shooting this stage, right, coming into position, shooting this two steel, I'm gonna show a little video like right here of what the swinger looked like, and I'm gonna show you exactly where I aimed. I aimed in the crook of the L, right, on the right side, because I knew that the alpha was perfectly passing that point. So I just parked my dot there, and as soon as I saw Brown, I didn't see my dot in the alpha. As soon as I saw Brown, I pulled the trigger, because that swinger was moving so fast, and this target was at like 10 yards, 12 yards maybe. It was moving so fast that if I saw my dot cover Brown in the Charlie or Delta zone, it would have been an alpha. And to be totally honest, I don't even remember what my hits were on that target. It was probably Alpha Charlie, because I only had one Charlie on the stage. That was another thing that helped me out as well. But it was just perfect timing. Honestly, it was perfect timing, and there might have been a little bit of luck involved. Could I do this again? Probably not. But is what it is, right? I'll take the win. Everything else felt really good. The movement was good. Had a makeup at the end, but, you know, nothing too crazy. That makeup at the end was, if I pull up the time chart, it was a 0.24. So would have been almost 11 seconds flat without the makeup, which would have been really sweet. But really good stage run. That definitely helped with my overall performance and my confidence.
Stand by.
Whew, that's rough. All right, so this is the malfunction I was talking about, and it was self-induced, unfortunately. I short-stroked the gun. So going into this stage, I was feeling hot. Coming off of the previous stage, I was like, man, I'm feeling really good. Final stage of the day, a relatively easy stage, but there was some sequencing that you had to put in. I elected to go with the more risky stage plan of activator, big popper, and then these two paper while the clamshell was opening, because I saw Super Squad guys do that, and I was like, my splits and transitions are fast enough, I know I can do that. It was 4 on the clamshell, and yeah, but right off the bat, a short stroke the gun, induced a misfeed, and then a double feed. Cleared the malfunction pretty quick, but it's a bummer. I'm normally pretty good with unloaded starts. Unloaded starts are, I would consider, a strength of mine. And my first shot was 4.46. So that's fun. My total time was 20 seconds. Believe it or not, with how horrible that was, how much of a dumpster fire that was, it was still only a 74% run, which is not like that bad. It's not as bad as a 50% run. Because I only had one Charlie, so I kind of made up the time a little bit with only having one Charlie, which was good, but I was 6 seconds off of Christian. Not quite 6 seconds, but almost 6 seconds, like 5.5, which is insane. And it wasn't just on my malfunction that I got that, obviously, but I definitely lost like 3 seconds on the malfunction for sure. But yeah, I mean, Christian's first shot. So my first shot was in a 4.4 something. Let's see. Let me pull up the time chart again. My first shot was a 4.46, and Christian's was a 185. So yeah, right off the bat, like 2.6 seconds, 2.5 seconds right off the bat there. But for me having a misfeed and then double feed and clearing it, you know, I'm pretty happy with how fast I did that. But the fact that I induced it for myself was annoying. And then, unfortunately, I missed the popper because after that happened, I was pushing as hard as I could. So two makeups on the steel there. Transition back because I didn't want to wait for the clamshell, and I still had to wait for the clamshell. It was just kind of a crap show. It was rough. So, but I was pushing as hard as I can. That's why I missed it. Because I was just a little frazzled, and I'm just pushing so hard and trying to save the stage. So, if I would have done better on that stage, that would have changed a lot for me. I mean, if I go in and edit my time, let's just take away 3 seconds. Let's say I still had the makeup on steel, but I didn't have the malfunction. So let's just say 17 seconds. Flat. That would have taken it from a 74% to an 88%, which would have bumped me from, yeah, I mean, it would have bumped me up 1%, essentially, one placement overall, but would have bumped me up a lot, and it would have helped for this stage specifically. A lot of match points down for that. 4.5 seconds, or no, 5.5 seconds is insane to lose to Christian. So, anyways, guys, that was my day 2. Overall, feeling pretty good. Had some mistakes, but nothing like catastrophic. Just kind of annoying, and it was like, can't really do those kinds of things going into day 3. So, going to be doing day 3 here pretty soon. So, guys, thanks again for watching, and I will see you in the next one.